everyone, my name is Brittany Farley and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about feedback, what feedback is, why it's important, the current research on feedback, and why we need more research on feedback, along with where the gaps are in research. So feedback, according to Aubrey Daniels, is information about performance level that allows an individual to adjust his or her performance. Feedback is required for learning to occur, and it is a learning process that requires specific information about how an individual behavior affects the environment. So understanding and utilizing feedback is highly important, both in our field as practitioners and in our field as administrators and researchers. So how do we understand that's the function of feedback? We understand the function of feedback through research. So the research that we have allows us to identify how feedback is developed as a function to our behavior. So current research is in experimental analysis of behavior and applied behavior analysis, along with organizational behavior management. So those are very important research fields. However, when we jump from experimental analysis of behavior research to applied behavior analysis research, we are missing that translational factor. So where and why and when did we jump from researching in the basic field to researching in the applied field? So that translational research piece provides the bridge between experimental analysis research and applied research. Also missing from the research is the evolution of feedback research. So where did it evolve? Where did we move from looking at feedback in pigeons or in a controlled environment to looking at feedback in the applied setting, and then even further into the organizational setting? So current feedback research in experimental analysis includes Standen's 1969 study examining the effect of informative feedback on temporal tracking, Davison et al.'s 2010 study on effects of local negative feedback function between choice and reinforcer rate. So that is not really a lot of research in the feedback, and of course there is more additional readings and additional articles that we can dig in to experimental behavior analysis research and the basic research. Applied research and feedback that I found includes the 2017 study on temporal locations of feedback, Johnson et al.'s 2015 study on role and accuracy and type evaluation, the 2016 study on antecedent strategies, Reed and Parsons' 1996 delayed versus immediate feedback, and finally the 1997 study on improving program outcomes with process-based performance feedback. So as you can see, there's more research in the applied than experimental field, and also there is more up-to-date research in the applied field than in the experimental field. But is this out of convenience or out of need? Is there more research in the applied field and more up-to-date research in the applied field because it's easier for researchers to conduct research in the applied field on feedback? Or is it just not translating that we need to make the connection between basic research and applied research in feedback? I know, as most practitioners might think who don't have the research background, that feedback is mainly for performance or for employees or for their RVTs who are working directly with clients, and how they affect the feedback comes from the supervisor. However, it's important for us to understand where the foundation of feedback comes from. As mentioned before, feedback is really just understanding how your behavior is affecting your environment, which is the basis of the applied behavior analysis and why feedback, the function of feedback, is so important. So it's also a tool that not everyone is using, again, because they're not understanding it, but not everyone knows how to request feedback or the importance of feedback, as previously said. So future research needs to really, in my opinion, go in a number of ways. It can go into understanding the connection. So I propose either a literature review or a meta-analysis of the connection and the evolution of feedback research from the basic research field into the applied research field and even further into the OBM research field, or how in specific applied research base, how we can get employees or RBTs or even RBCBAs to ask for that additional feedback, if they're asking for it, why they're not asking for it, if they understand the function of feedback. And then again, also examining or studying how feedback is placed. What is the function of feedback? Are we using feedback as a consequence to past behavior, or are we using feedback as an antecedent to future behavior? Where do we want to use that feedback tool? So moving forward, this research and what I've collected here, I'd like to put together more intense historical background of feedback research and then the evolution throughout to where we are now.